All right. So Gracie's Place, this is who we are. Just hope for families and help for kids with special needs. Just a little bit briefly about myself. My husband and I have two beautiful daughters. One's 21 and the other one is 10, just about to turn 11, and she has autism and ADHD. We started Gracie's Place because we were originally from Wisconsin. We had moved down to Kentucky for several years, and at that point is when Gracie actually got diagnosed with autism. We started up in Rhinelander, and they were the first folks that talked to us about Head Start program, or Birth to Three program, I should say. They were the first ones that were saying, we think there might be some issues with Grace. She got diagnosed at about 7 years old down in Kentucky. We had just received so much fantastic care down there through a specific therapy center. And our heart was to come back up to Wisconsin, and we weren't sure what we were going to do there. As it turns out, I still have my job that I was doing down in Kentucky. I work remotely from here, but we decided to create a therapy center for northern Wisconsin because we knew there really wasn't anything in northern Wisconsin for kids with special needs. At least there hadn't been. And then we talked to a lot of people, and they said, yes, please come. So we did, and now I can't get my screen to move. There we go. Okay, so here we are. We're a nonprofit therapy center for kids with special needs. We also offer mentoring and support for families. So this is kind of what we look like. It's just one big room. We offer speech therapy and occupational therapy for kiddos. Some of the other things that we had been doing were social groups prior to COVID. So everything is like kind of prior to COVID. Y'all know that. But we had started offering these really fun social groups, especially for kiddos with autism. And what we had done is we had kids from my Grace's class, actually. So my Grace is the little blonde-haired girl right there. That's her friend Rachel. And Rachel is a neurotypical kiddo who loves my daughter really, really well. And so what we ended up doing was bringing Rachel in and one other young boy, same age, that came alongside 4 other kiddos with autism. And we had like a social group. And so what in my head as a mama of a kiddo with autism is I love the fact that she can be friends with other kids that have autism or other delays or disabilities or whatever. But I also want her to have a lot of really solid, good friends that are neurotypical. And I want to raise the bar on her as far as like communication and social interaction and social exchange. And so it's been really fun to have these other kids that just have a love for our kiddos to come alongside and join us. And actually right before COVID hit, it had been Gracie's birthday, and her entire 4th grade class of AVW school took buses over to Gracie's Place, which was really fun. Celebrated Gracie's birthday and a friend's birthday. And I had basically 3 different 4th grade classes that were in here, seeing what we're about, learning about kids with autism, learning about kids with disabilities. And I had some kids after the fact, and we talked about the fact that we had a couple of kids from their class that were also helping with it, and helping with the social groups, And I had kiddos come up afterwards and said, could I be a part of that? Can I join this? How can I be a part of it? So they're in 4th grade, which I think is fantastic. And they still have this heart for them. So we're trying to find ways to continue this community where we're all a part of each other's lives. It's not just kind of the kiddos that have disabilities in some way or different abilities in some way that are by themselves and their families are by themselves. And then there's other groups of families over here, but trying to figure out a way to build community. So that's what we do. That's what we've been doing. However, difficulties of therapy in the time of COVID-19. Here's what we found. Families are nervous. Many of them have chosen to keep their kids at home. They're not even going to school right now. Actually, like we work through the Human Service Center up here, and they've been just fantastic. Like our daughter does a hybrid where she goes to school in the morning because I want her to still have that social interaction, but I worry about her because she's also immune compromised. And so how do we balance that sort of things? A lot of families are trying to figure that out, and I'm not telling you anything y'all don't know. So we're like, okay, well, how do we do this? Because we're a therapy center where people are afraid to come in for therapy. The therapists are also nervous. One of our therapists had COVID, which actually ends up now she's doing therapy here. Our speech therapist is, because she's had COVID now, is feeling a little bit better about, and we've got some families that are coming in doing some speech therapy, but our occupational therapist is still nervous. She has families with that are immune compromised that are living with her. So there's the therapists that are nervous. You got families nervous, therapists nervous. We've done telehealth and that's worked out all right, but it's not quite the same. It doesn't build the same community. We do have families coming in, but not that many right now. So we're trying to okay, so we're in COVID. We're all working through Zoom. We're all doing this remotely. How do we reimagine then what can be done, right? And so in November, we did a short survey with families and what their needs were. So I just sent out a blast to all the people that I knew. We offered a couple of gift certificates to local businesses, and we ended up getting 29 people responding, which to me is pretty darn good. I mean, because we don't normally get that many responses. So I was really happy with that. So I'm actually going to share with you just super short. We kept it really short. It was like 2 minutes and they were done. But just simple questions. And so here you can kind of see the responses, the numbers that we've gotten. Would you be interested in participating in an online Zoom meeting to talk through what you and your children need at this time? So we can hear and support each other, and you can see people are responding. Yes, they would. I'll stop here for just a second. I also had several people write me notes because they were able to do that to comment on this saying, I just can't do one more Zoom meeting. Zoom's killing me. I don't want to do anything more that has to do with Zoom. But interestingly enough, they ended up doing it anyway and have been joining us for some of the events that we're doing. But anyway, so question 2, would you be open to discussing brainstorming possible groups or activities that would be helpful both during this time and even into the future for yourself and your kids? And you can kind of see the responses there. A lot of yeses, a few no's. We had a few no's, but by and large, people are interested. Some people skipped some of the questions. Some people answered all the questions. But okay, so we know people are interested, right? So here we kind of dug a little deeper. Would you have interest in small groups, online groups, prayer groups, craft groups, encouragement groups? For yourself, as well as communication groups, music, art, craft, STEAM groups for your kids. So we're trying to figure out, do parents want something just for them? Do they need something? Do we want something just for their kids and they'll participate in it? You can kind of see, we did a yes, a no, a maybe let's talk sort of thing. And you can kind of see the responses down there, right? But I mean, if you combine yes and maybe let's talk, you've got a pretty high percentage there of people, almost 90% of the people that are saying, yes, I'd be interested in that. Fourth question, would you be interested in being part of a community who helps to develop these ideas and create resources for ourselves and others? So here's what we're trying to do is not have it just be like me and Chris Barnico is on our board. So like me and Chris and my husband and a few other people, but can we get the families together and can we be doing this together? And trying to see how many people we can get to do community with us. So you can kind of see there a little fewer yeses, but a lot of maybe less talks and not that many no's. So I thought that was really good. And so where did that lead us? We ended up, so the last 2 questions that I didn't put on there was basically, what are your best days and what are your best times to meet? Because that, you all know this too, it's hard to get people together. Calendars are just tricky. And so we asked those 2 questions, days and times, what are the best, mornings, afternoons, evenings? I'm like, can you meet at 10 o'clock at night? I'll be a pumpkin, but I'll do it if you're there, if that's the best for you. But so we did 2 different Zooms based on days and times that worked best for the parents. So what came out of what came out of those meetings was that families are willing to meet on Zoom for special groups and community gatherings. And that families were willing to go outside and go for hikes because they felt like that would be something where they could keep a social distance, that it would be good for them, it would be healthy for them, and it would get their kids moving and their bodies moving, and we could do community that way. So with that, we've started to do a once a week, except for last Sunday. We did not do it last Sunday because it was way too cold. So hoping this Sunday is better, but we're doing hikes. every Sunday at 1 p.m. at a different trail in the area. We've had anywhere from 2 families to 6 families show up. We started it, I think I just grabbed this as far as one of the little ads that we're doing on Facebook and whatnot, but we started it earlier in January. So we've done it, I want to say either 3 or 4 times now. And like I said, we didn't do it last Sunday, but we're going to do it this Sunday, probably over by Boulder Junction, because there's a beautiful trail over there. And then the next one we're going to do, we're actually going to stop at a midpoint in the hike and do, it's what's called the Clear Lake Trail. And there's a place where they have firewood and things to light a fire and whatnot. And we're going to roast marshmallows and that sort of thing and then come back. So we kind of have plans as we move forward of different things that we're going to do. But bottom line is that kiddos with disabilities and kiddos with autism that have a social communication disorder are getting communicated with and having the ability to have social interaction. And so that's really important to me just as a mom, but to these other moms and families as well. So that's been really exciting and fun, and just trying to honestly rethink how we're doing this, because we don't know how long it's going to last or what it's going to look like, hoping that, summer is usually our busiest time to do therapies, because kids are also out of school. So families want to keep therapy going in the summer, even for kids that don't typically get it during the school year. But, so at any rate, we'll keep these outdoor hikes going in the summer too, I think. It actually is really quite fun, and the families are having a lot of fun. And so here's just some pictures of kids and families and dogs, because they're bringing their dogs too, but just of the kiddos outside and having fun. And so I'd gotten permission to use these images, so just so you're aware of that. But it's been really beautiful, and some of the hikes have just been phenomenal. So we've done that. Second thing that we're doing is a little thing we started with, which was Tiny Bonfire. This is the first of what we hope will be many fun events. We had 10 families or individuals join us on the Zoom, which was huge. I mean, it was really, and Chris Barnico, you were there. Do you want to say anything about that? It was pretty fun.
It was absolutely wonderful. I had so much fun. It took me away from just the day-to-day living with COVID and being isolated, and it was I just felt really great. It was a bright spot for sure.
You were a good sport too. I kind of put Chris on the spot because so what we did is it was an hour long. I sent out a packet beforehand, and so the packet had like mini graham crackers, mini marshmallows, toothpicks, tea light for the campfire, matches, bubbles, right, for bubble wand. What am I forgetting? Chocolate for the s'mores. And so literally the s'mores are like this big, and but it's perfect to do the toothpick and the tea light. You need your parent there to do it with you. But we broke out into teams. So I broke out the Zoom, broke into Zoom rooms. And first part was you need a team name, you need a team color, you need a team mascot. So they had to socially interact. So the kiddos are broken up. Chris was one of the leaders of one of the Zoom rooms, and then we had another person be a leader in the other. But they had to, they needed a team cheer or whatever. And so they broke out and they had to work together to figure that out and then come back and share it with us. And they had to be wearing their team color. And then we broke back out again, and we kind of did what would be like a scavenger hunt. Like if you're in the middle of the woods by a lake in the middle of nowhere, what are the things that you would need, sort of thing. And they had to go out and find those things in their home that they thought they would need, and broke out into their groups and figured it out, got those things, brought them back, and then had to show me. And I had a list, and we had like points, and whichever team won. Chris, I don't remember which team won, didn't matter. But anyway, so we did that. And so several of those sorts of things where they had to interact and talk and think through things together and then come back and do it. And then we had like a little pause, and I did like some music, and they got to open up their packets, see what was inside, blow their bubbles. And then, and then we did like a story. So they had to come up with like Mad Libs. I don't know if any of you have ever did Mad Libs when you were a kid. Sure. Okay. So we kind of did that with them, and they had to come up with words, and then created this, like, it wasn't a spooky story. It was just kind of a funny story it ended up being. And so in the end, they had broken up and given me the words, and so I put all those words into the story. So they roasted marshmallows and we gave them a story in the end. But they really had to work together as they broke out into the groups and whatnot. And it was actually really fun. They were having fun. They were like really, it was very, it was neat to watch it. So this is something I think we're going to expand on. I wasn't sure how it would work, but I feel like it worked really, really well. The kids had a lot of fun. The adults had a lot of fun with it. And so we had actually gotten a really generous grant at the end of this past year. And so I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to do the things that they were asking us to do, but just like so blessed by this help from a certain individual. And so I think we're just going to keep moving forward with this. And the idea of it being that we could incorporate like STEAM learning, and again, send out packets and have them work together in their groups and kind of create these sorts of things. And oh, here, this is what they got. Isn't it? So, and that's how you roast the marshmallows. It's just over with a toothpick. So that's basically how it worked for them for that one. But I think we'll continue to call it probably Tiny Bonfire, just because it's fun and it gets them excited or whatever. But we'll do other things with it. We can do arts with it. We can do crafts with it, STEAM learning with it, can continue to break them out into groups and have them socially interact, but do it in a safe way. So these are the ways, I mean, and that's really it, but these are the ways that we've been trying to I guess, just reinvent what it looks like to do community in the midst of this, because we don't know, again, how long it's going to last, and we don't know necessarily how safe people are going to feel, as we kind of come out of this or whatever. So we might as well use what we've got and kind of go from there. So that's basically what we're trying to do right now, and those are the things that we've come up with. So I don't know if there's any questions or.
Thank you. That campfire idea, mini bonfire, is such a cute idea.
It's really great to hear what you guys are doing up there. And I've heard about Gracie's Place for a couple of years, but it's really nice to actually hear you talk about what you're doing. I'm a parent too, so it's great to hear what you guys are doing and how you're pulling people together and how you're adapting to the current situation too. So thank you.
Thanks.
Have you met, I'm really curious because I work with people across the state. I'm curious whether you've met many parents in like different areas of the state. Do you have a network of parents who are trying to accomplish similar things?
I don't really, to be honest with you. I mean, we have a pretty solid network up here of folks that are doing that. So there's several different organizations that have come together in kind of like a Northwoods Consortium group. So in that way, so like for folks from Rhinelander, folks from Manitowish Waters and that, but not like further like southern parts of the states or anything, but mostly up in this northern region. But in that way we have, but not really anything outside of this area.
Do you feel like that having the consortium has helped you to be able to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, or what other things in your area have helped you to do this?
Sure. I mean, I think that I think Chris Barnacle has just helped a lot. I think folks that encourage us, you know what I mean? So I think that group, the Northwoods Consortium, they are really an encouraging group because they're each in different ways trying to do these different things. So you have folks that are trying to be parent mentors that are also parents with kiddos with special needs, and you have like equine therapy and that sort of thing that's coming in, or that sort of thing. So any group of people and though they're all like, yeah, you can do it. The hardest thing, like for me, is just like, oh, is this stupid? I don't know. So any form of encouragement that just says, no, this isn't, just keep plodding along, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. That was actually one of the things that one of the ladies that was in our Zoom, who her and her husband handle kind of the Special Olympics up here, and her daughter is older, has Down syndrome, but they're just lonely, and they're so used to like being so busy right now doing Special Olympics and all this sort of stuff. And so they were ones that are like, just do it. And if one thing doesn't work, then just try something else. And if that doesn't work, then just try something else, but just keep moving forward. And so that's some of the best advice I think that I've gotten is just, you know what, you don't know. And every family is in a different spot with, you know, their own, honestly, mental health in their kiddos and just trying to survive in a lot of ways right now. And so I think anything that we can give that, like Chris was saying, is just, it's a bright spot for them is what we're trying to do.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Morning, Deborah. My name is Rose Cutting, and I am down in Southwest Wisconsin. And we run a nonprofit, and we have a little center as well. I'm just curious, your speech that you mentioned, do you hire them directly, or are you like working with somebody else to hire them?
Yeah, no, so we contract out. So all of our therapists have other jobs that they're doing in the community right now. So our speech person is also the speech person for the charter school that's up here. And our OT also works for the Human Service Center that's up here. So none of it is full-time for us right now, which can make it kind of dicey, but speech is the hardest one. And we've been trying, if we, at least pre-COVID, if we could have a speech person that would stay up here and work for us full-time, we could contract out even full-time. We could probably give them almost full-time work typically, but it's really, really hard up here to get speech people. I don't know how it is by you, if you have that experience too, but speech is totally the hardest one. I actually just sent out a note to a young lady who graduated last year from the University of Stevens Point, who had been interested just prior to COVID. Like I met with her a month before COVID really hit, and she was all like gung-ho about coming up here, and then backed right off because of COVID, which I do not blame her, but just sent her a note today because I'm like, I think you should rethink about this because summer's coming and the vaccine's here. So we'll see where that goes, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll just float this out there for you. What I've found is grasping on that philosophy of grow your own, like you just said, reaching back out, and just started talking to the school counselors about students that are graduating and wanting to do something in education, but, describing to them that they need to tell them there's more than just teaching. There's speech, OT, and teaching.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good advice. And we have a few folks, because my husband actually works as a para at the high school as well. So he kind of earmarks some of the, especially it seems like mostly female TAs they'll come in and they'll work with kiddos with special needs and whatnot. And he's like, you should really go into OT. You're very good at this, or you should really go into speech. But for real, starting to recruit early. But one of the things that we've tried to do is to connect with UW Stevens Point as well, because they have that crew, of folks graduating with SLP. So